Have you ever sat in a quiet room with nothing but your thoughts as company and wondered why the ones who should have loved you most were the ones who hurt you deepest? The walls of that room can feel like they're closing in, suffocating you under the weight of memories you never chose but somehow inherited. You may have asked yourself questions that echo into the night. Why did they treat me this way? What did I do to deserve this? Will it always be like this? Family pain has a way of becoming an invisible chain. It wraps itself around your heart, your mind, your very soul, whispering lies into your spirit. Lies like you're not enough, you'll never escape this, you'll never find peace. But today I want you to hear another whisper, one that speaks not from pain but from truth. Listen closely, for this truth comes from a higher place, a divine promise. Your pain is not permanent. We are told in Scripture that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. This is not just a poetic phrase, it is a declaration of freedom. The night, as dark as it seems, is not eternal. Morning always comes. Yet in the depths of family trauma, it can feel as though the night stretches endlessly. It's easy to forget that the sun is still rising beyond the horizon. That's why we must remind ourselves we are not abandoned in our pain. There is a hand that reaches out, a light that pierces through the darkest shadows, offering hope. The toxicity within a family often feels like a curse passed down through generations. One person's anger becomes another's burden. One person's neglect leaves a mark on someone else's soul. It's a cycle so deeply rooted that it feels immovable. But I want you to consider something. Who told you the cycle couldn't be broken? Who decided that the story ends here? Certainly not the one who created you. God's design for you was never to live in perpetual suffering. You were not born to carry the weight of someone else's brokenness. You were born to rise above it. The same God who calms the raging seas can calm the storms in your soul. The same power that split the Red Sea can split the chains of generational trauma. But you must be willing to take the first step. Ask yourself, who am I beneath this pain? Who am I when the bitterness, the anger, the wounds are stripped away? You are not their insults, their rejection, or their betrayal. You are not the labels they placed on you in moments of cruelty. You are something infinitely more, a soul crafted with love, purpose, and power. The journey to healing begins with a single decision to believe that your pain does not define you. Too often we mistake endurance for healing. We think that if we can simply survive another day, we are strong. But survival without growth is not strength, it is stagnation. Real strength is found in breaking free, in saying, "This ends with me." The pain, the toxicity, the trauma, it will not be passed to another generation. But breaking free is not a solitary act. It requires faith. Faith in something greater than yourself. Faith that the God who sees your tears has not turned his face away. Faith that his promise of restoration is real. There is a verse in the book of Isaiah that says, "He will give you beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness." This promise is not reserved for the perfect, the whole, or the unbroken. It is for you, even in the midst of your pain. Think of the stories we hold dear in our faith, stories of people who were broken but not abandoned. Joseph, sold into slavery by his own brothers, rose to save a nation. David, overlooked and underestimated by his family, became a king after God's own heart. These stories are not relics of the past. They are reminders that God works through the very pain that seems to break us. He turns it into something extraordinary if we let him. So I ask you today, as you sit with your memories, your scars, and your questions, are you ready to let go of what no longer serves you? Are you ready to step into the freedom that has always been waiting for you? The night may have been long, but the morning is coming. And when it comes, it will bring with it a new chapter, a new strength, and a new purpose. Your pain is not permanent. The toxicity that has surrounded you is not your destiny. You are not the product of their mistakes. You are the reflection of God's grace. Now, let us explore how you can break the cycle and step into the life you were always meant to live. Acknowledge the pain without letting it define you. Pain is a strange thing, isn't it? It doesn't knock on the door or ask for permission. It simply walks into your life uninvited and makes itself at home. For those who have faced trauma within the walls of their own home, this pain isn't just an unwelcome guest, it feels like a permanent resident. It's there in the mornings when you wake up, in the silence of the nights, and even in the moments when you think you've outrun it. But here's the question I want you to consider. Does the pain that was placed upon you have the right to tell you who you are? Imagine a child, wide-eyed and full of trust, looking to their family for love and safety. Now imagine that trust being met with harsh words, cold silences, or the constant reminder that they are never quite enough. Maybe this story feels a little too familiar. Maybe it's your story. You were told, directly or indirectly, that love was conditional, given only when you performed, when you pleased, or when you disappeared into the background. The result: a deep, aching wound that whispers, you are not worthy, you are broken. But let me tell you something, the pain is real, yes. The wound is real, but it is not who you are. It may have shaped parts of your story, but it does not own the pen that writes your future. Acknowledging pain is not the same as accepting it as your identity. Too often we confuse the two. We think that to acknowledge our hurt is to admit defeat, to carry it as a badge that declares us forever broken. But the truth is, acknowledging your pain is the first step toward freedom. It's saying, yes, this happened to me. Yes, it hurt, but no, it will not define who I am or who I will become. I think of the times you've tried to bury your pain, convincing yourself that if you ignored it long enough, it would go away. Did it? Or did it show up in other ways in your relationships, in your self-esteem, in the quiet moments when it was just you and your thoughts? Pain doesn't vanish when ignored, it festers. But when you acknowledge it, when you dare to look it in the eye, you strip it of its power. You name it for what it is, an experience, not an identity. Now, let's go deeper. How often have you found yourself replaying old conversations in your mind, dissecting words and moments, trying to understand why you weren't enough for them? The truth is, you were always enough. Their inability to see your worth says more about them than it ever could about you. But here's where the shift begins, when you stop seeking validation from those who caused your pain and start seeking truth within yourself. Acknowledging pain doesn't mean you need to relive it endlessly. It means giving yourself permission to grieve what was lost, whether it was the innocence of childhood, the trust you placed in someone, or the belief that family is synonymous with safety. Grieve it, but don't pitch a tent there. The goal is not to dwell in the pain, but to recognize its presence so you can begin to move forward. Perhaps you've told yourself that if you could just understand why they hurt you, the pain would make sense. But sometimes there are no satisfying answers. People hurt others because of their own wounds, their own insecurities, their own failures to heal. Their actions are a reflection of them, not of you. So stop asking, what's wrong with me? And start asking, what's right with me that they couldn't see? Let's shift the focus now. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack everywhere you go. At first, you adjust to its weight, convincing yourself you're strong enough to bear it. But over time, it starts to affect everything: your posture, your energy, your ability to move freely. This is what unacknowledged pain does. It becomes a burden so heavy that it limits every part of your life. But the moment you stop and take inventory of what's in that backpack, you begin to realize that not everything inside belongs to you. Some of it was placed there by others, by their words, their actions, their failures, and you have the power to unpack it. Acknowledging your pain also means recognizing the ways it has tried to speak for you. When you've hesitated to trust someone new, when you've second-guessed your worth, when you've silenced your voice out of fear, those were moments when your pain tried to define you. But now it's time to reclaim your voice, to say, yes, I've been hurt, but I am not my hurt. I am something far greater. I want you to think about this. Every time you acknowledge your pain without letting it define you, you take a step toward freedom. Every time you refuse to let someone else's actions dictate your worth, you break a link in the chain. And every time you choose to believe that you are more than the sum of your scars, you move closer to becoming the person you were always meant to be. So here's your challenge. Look at your pain not as a reflection of who you are, but as a reflection of what you've endured. And remember, you've endured because you are stronger than you know. The pain is part of your story, but it is not the whole story. It is a chapter, not the title. And today you have the power to start writing a new page. Find strength in your faith. When the weight of family trauma presses heavily upon your spirit, it's easy to feel isolated, as though you're walking through a barren wilderness with no end in sight. Pain, especially the kind inflicted by those we hold closest, often makes us question everything: our worth, our purpose, and even the goodness of the world around us. But in these moments of despair, there exists an unshakable truth: you are not alone. Even in the darkest valleys, there is a presence walking beside you, guiding you toward healing, and that presence is found in your faith. Faith is not a simple belief in something unseen. It is the anchor that holds you steady when the storms of life threaten to overwhelm you. When family wounds cut deep, faith reminds you that you were created intentionally with love and purpose by a God who sees every tear and hears every unspoken cry. You are not forgotten, no matter how invisible you may feel within the walls of your home. Have you ever felt the stillness of a moment when the world seemed to pause and you knew, even if just for an instant, that something greater was watching over you? That still small voice that whispers, "You are more than this pain. You are meant for more." This is the voice of faith calling you to rise, not in denial of your wounds, but in defiance of the belief that they define you. Faith gives you the strength to see beyond the present hurt to the possibility of a future where you are free. Faith is not a passive refuge, it is an active force that empowers you to confront the pain while trusting in something greater. It invites you to place your burdens at the feet of the one who carries all things, to trust that your trials are not random, but are being woven into a greater story, a story of redemption, growth, and triumph. When you feel too weak to continue, faith whispers, "You don't have to carry this alone." Think about this. The people who hurt you may have failed you, but their failure does not negate the divine promise over your life. Scripture is filled with reminders that your worth is not determined by the opinions or actions of others. "I have loved you with an everlasting love," God says. This love does not waver in the face of family dysfunction or human failings. It remains steadfast, offering you a foundation upon which to rebuild. In faith, you find permission to grieve the loss of what you hoped your family would be, without losing hope for what your future can become. It reminds you that even brokenness can be used for good. The story of Joseph, betrayed by his brothers and sold into slavery, serves as a testament to this truth. What others intended for harm, God used to elevate him, to prepare him for a greater purpose. Your story, too, is not over. The pain you've endured can become the platform from which you rise. Faith also equips you with the courage to let go, to release the bitterness, resentment, and anger that tether you to the past. This does not mean condoning the actions of those who hurt you. It means choosing freedom over the chains of unforgiveness. As long as you cling to anger, you remain bound to the very people who caused your pain. But when you place that anger in God's hands, trusting Him to bring justice and healing, you free yourself to step into the life you were meant to live. But perhaps most importantly, faith reminds you of your identity. You are not the names they called you in moments of cruelty. You are not the failure they accused you of being. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, crafted in the image of a Creator who knows you intimately and loves you unconditionally. This is your true identity, untainted by the actions of others. Faith doesn't promise an immediate end to the pain, but it does promise the strength to endure it and the hope of a brighter tomorrow. It calls you to lean not on your understanding, but on the assurance that you are held by something greater. When the nights are long and the tears seem endless, faith is the light that reminds you dawn is coming. When the voices of pain and doubt grow loud, let the voice of faith grow louder. Let it remind you that you are not abandoned, that your worth is not tied to their actions, and that your pain is not the end of the story. In faith, you find the strength to keep moving forward one step at a time toward the healing and peace that have always been waiting for you. Set boundaries with love and conviction. There comes a time when you must make a choice between continuing to endure pain in silence or stepping forward to protect your peace. Setting boundaries with family is not an act of rebellion, it is an act of self-preservation. For too long, you may have believed that love requires enduring whatever is thrown your way, that being part of a family means sacrificing your well-being. But love, true love, does not demand your suffering. It does not require you to stay in spaces where you are diminished or harmed. Boundaries are not walls to shut others out, but gates to protect what is sacred within you. They define where you end and someone else begins. They declare, without malice but with strength, that your worth is not negotiable. For many, especially within a toxic family dynamic, setting boundaries feels like an impossible task. You've been conditioned to keep the peace, to avoid conflict, to prioritize others' comfort over your own. But peace purchased at the cost of your self-respect is no peace at all. Consider this: every time you allow someone to overstep your boundaries without consequence, you teach them that their actions are acceptable. You teach them that your needs are secondary, that your voice can be ignored. Setting boundaries is a way of reclaiming your voice. It's a way of saying, I matter and my well-being matters. Setting boundaries doesn't require shouting or anger. It requires clarity and conviction. It means calmly stating, I will not tolerate being spoken to in this way, or I need space to focus on my healing. It means following through when those boundaries are tested, because they will be tested. People who are used to crossing your boundaries may push back. They may accuse you of being selfish or ungrateful. This is not a reflection of your actions, but of their resistance to change. Stand firm. Boundaries also require consistency. It's not enough to set them once and hope they'll be respected. They must be reinforced every time they're challenged. This consistency is not about punishing others, but about protecting yourself. You may feel guilt at first, guilt for saying no, guilt for prioritizing yourself. But guilt is not your guide. Your peace and well-being are far more important than temporary discomfort. Setting boundaries with love doesn't mean you stop caring about your family. It means you care enough about yourself to ensure that relationships do not become sources of harm. It's a way of saying, I love you, but I love myself too, and I cannot allow this behavior to continue. It's an act of love for everyone involved, even if it doesn't feel like it at the moment. For boundaries to be effective, you must first recognize what behaviors are harmful to you. This requires self-awareness and honesty. What are the words, actions, or patterns that leave you feeling drained, diminished, or disrespected? Once you've identified them, communicate them clearly. Avoid vague statements. Be specific about what is unacceptable and what you expect instead. In some cases, setting boundaries may mean creating physical or emotional distance from family members. This doesn't mean cutting them out of your life entirely unless that's necessary for your safety. It means recognizing that you can love someone and still need space from them. It means understanding that your love for them does not require you to endure harm. Boundaries are also about what you allow into your own mind and heart. Just because someone speaks negativity over you doesn't mean you have to accept it. Protect your inner world with the same conviction you protect your outer space. Remind yourself that their words, their actions, and their opinions are not truths. You have the power to decide what you allow to take root in your life. Above all, setting boundaries is not an act of cruelty, it is an act of courage. It's a way of saying that you refuse to let your life be shaped by the dysfunction around you. It's a declaration that you value yourself enough to protect your peace, even when it's difficult. By setting boundaries, you begin to create a space where healing can happen, a space free from the chaos of toxicity and filled with the possibility of growth. Release the weight of unforgiveness. Unforgiveness is a burden that quietly grows heavier with time. It starts as a small seed, an unresolved hurt, an unanswered apology, a betrayal too deep to forget. But as days turn to months and months to years, it takes root in your heart, twisting and tightening until it becomes a part of you. And yet, as heavy as it feels, unforgiveness is not a burden you have to carry forever. Letting it go is not about them, it's about you. When someone within your family wounds you, the betrayal cuts deeper than most. These are the people you trusted instinctively, the ones meant to protect and nurture you. So when that trust is broken, it feels personal, almost impossible to overcome. Forgiving them may feel like excusing their actions, as though releasing your anger diminishes the harm they caused. But forgiveness is not about erasing what happened. It is about releasing its hold on you. Unforgiveness binds you to the very pain you wish to escape. It keeps you tethered to the people and moments that hurt you most. Every time you replay the hurt, every time you dwell on what they did or failed to do, you relive the pain as if it just happened. And while they may move on, unaware or unbothered, you remain imprisoned by emotions that weigh you down. Forgiveness, however, is not an act of weakness. It is an act of incredible strength. It takes courage to say, I will no longer allow what you did to define how I live. It is not about denying your pain or pretending the hurt didn't happen. Instead, it's about acknowledging the pain, mourning what was lost, and then deciding to free yourself from the bitterness that keeps you stuck. You may wonder, how can I forgive someone who hasn't apologized? Or how can I forgive when they haven't changed? The truth is, forgiveness is not for them, it is for you. It is a gift you give yourself, a decision to let go of the anger and resentment that consume your energy and peace. Waiting for someone else to repent or recognize their wrongdoing puts your healing in their hands, but forgiveness places it back in yours. This doesn't mean forgetting what happened or opening yourself up to further harm. Forgiveness does not require reconciliation. It does not mean you must allow that person back into your life if doing so threatens your peace. Boundaries and forgiveness go hand in hand. You can forgive someone and still choose to maintain a distance that protects your well-being. Forgiveness also doesn't happen overnight. It is a process, often a slow and painful one. It begins with the decision to forgive, even if your heart isn't there yet. It's choosing day by day to release the anger bit by bit, trusting that over time, the burden will become lighter. There will be days when the old pain resurfaces, when the memories flood back and threaten to pull you under. On those days, remind yourself why you chose to forgive, not for them, but for your freedom. Think about what unforgiveness has cost you so far. The sleepless nights, the moments of joy stolen by bitterness, the relationships you've struggled to trust because of past wounds. Is holding on to this anger worth losing more of your life? Forgiveness allows you to reclaim what unforgiveness has taken. It gives you permission to move forward without the weight of the past holding you back. Forgiving someone who has hurt you deeply can feel like an impossible task, especially within a toxic family dynamic. But remember this, forgiveness is not a feeling, it is a choice. It is not a one-time event, it is a journey. And while it may feel difficult, even unfair, the freedom it brings is worth every step. As you release the weight of unforgiveness, you create space for something new: peace, joy, and healing. You no longer live with the bitterness that colors every aspect of your life. Instead, you begin to see the possibilities of a future unshackled from the pain of the past. Forgiveness doesn't change what happened, but it changes what happens next. And that change is entirely in your hands. Seek support from those who uplift. In the aftermath of family toxicity, it's natural to feel isolated, as if the world is too vast, too indifferent to your pain. Toxic dynamics often teach us to hide our wounds, to put on a brave face and pretend we're fine. You may have grown up hearing phrases like "keep it in the family" or "don't air dirty laundry." These words often silence your cries for help, making you believe that healing is something you must face alone. But the truth is, no one is meant to walk this path in solitude. Healing is not only possible, it is accelerated when you surround yourself with those who uplift and inspire you. Toxic family relationships can distort your perception of what love and support look like. You may have learned to associate care with criticism or love with control. This conditioning can make it difficult to trust others or to recognize healthy relationships when they appear. But there is a world beyond the dysfunction you've known, filled with people who can remind you of your worth and guide you toward healing. Finding support begins with recognizing that you are worthy of it. Toxicity often convinces you that you must earn love, that you must meet impossible standards to be valued. This lie becomes a barrier, making you hesitant to seek help or share your struggles. But let me tell you this, you deserve kindness, understanding, and encouragement, not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. Seeking support is not a sign of weakness, it's an act of courage and self-respect. Support can come in many forms. It may be a trusted friend who listens without judgment, offering a safe space for you to express your feelings. It could be a mentor or counselor who helps you untangle the knots of your past and discover the strength within you. Support might even come from unexpected places: a colleague, a community group, or someone who has walked a similar path and understands your pain without you needing to explain it. When you begin to share your story with the right people, you'll find that your burden feels lighter. The act of being heard, truly heard, can be transformative. It validates your experiences and reminds you that you are not alone. Toxic family environments often leave you feeling invisible, as though your feelings don't matter. Surrounding yourself with supportive individuals restores the truth. Your voice matters, your pain matters, and your healing matters. But finding support also means being intentional about who you allow into your life. Not everyone will understand your journey or respect the boundaries you've set. Some people may even try to pull you back into patterns of negativity or invalidate your experiences. This is why it's crucial to seek out those who genuinely uplift you, people who celebrate your growth, respect your choices, and encourage you to become the best version of yourself. Healthy relationships are marked by mutual respect, open communication, and kindness. These are the relationships that remind you of your potential, not your failures. They challenge you to grow without diminishing your worth. If you've spent years in a toxic environment, these relationships may feel unfamiliar or even uncomfortable at first. But give yourself permission to lean into them. Let them show you what true support looks like. It's also important to recognize that support isn't just about receiving, it's about connection. As you heal, you'll find opportunities to offer support to others, to share the wisdom you've gained from your experiences. In doing so, you'll discover that healing is a two-way street. Helping others find strength can reinforce your own. Seeking support is not about finding people to fix you. It's about surrounding yourself with those who remind you of your own strength and potential. It's about creating a network of encouragement where you are uplifted and inspired to continue your journey. Healing from toxic family dynamics is hard work, but it becomes more manageable when you walk alongside those who believe in you, even when you struggle to believe in yourself. Remember, the people you surround yourself with have the power to shape your life. Choose those who reflect the light you seek, who nurture your growth, and who remind you that even in the aftermath of pain, joy and love are still possible. Support is not a luxury, it is a necessity for healing, and you are more than deserving of it. Transform pain into purpose. Pain, especially the kind inflicted by family, can feel all-encompassing. It seeps into the crevices of your soul, coloring your perception of yourself and the world around you. But what if the pain you've endured is not just a scar but a seed? What if within that pain lies the very thing that will propel you toward a life of greater meaning, strength, and fulfillment? Transforming pain into purpose is not about denying the hurt or pretending it didn't happen. It's about using the lessons and resilience born from that pain to shape a brighter, more empowered future. When you're in the depths of family trauma, it's hard to see beyond the hurt. It feels like the pain has no purpose, no justification. You may have asked yourself countless times, why did this happen to me? While the answer may never come in the form you expect, there is a deeper truth to uncover. Your pain can become the foundation of your growth. It is not meant to break you. It is meant to build you, but only if you choose to let it. Pain has a unique way of teaching us things we could never learn otherwise. It shows us the strength we didn't know we had, the resilience we didn't know we could muster. Family pain, in particular, teaches hard lessons about boundaries, self-worth, and the power of forgiveness. These lessons, though painful to learn, are invaluable. They become the tools you use to rebuild your life, to navigate relationships with clarity and conviction, and to create a legacy of healing rather than hurt. Transforming pain into purpose begins with acknowledging that your experiences, as difficult as they were, have shaped you in ways that no one else can replicate. Your story is uniquely yours, and within it lies the power to inspire, to connect, and to uplift others. When you choose to see your pain as a teacher rather than a tormentor, you begin to unlock its potential. You shift from asking, why did this happen to me, to asking, how can I use this to grow and help others? Consider the countless people who have turned their darkest moments into a source of light for others. They didn't do so by ignoring their pain or pretending it didn't matter. They embraced it, learned from it, and used it as a catalyst to create change. You can do the same. Your pain can become a bridge that connects you to others who are walking through similar struggles. It can become the foundation of a purpose-driven life, one that draws strength from the very things that once tried to destroy you. But transforming pain into purpose isn't just about helping others, it's also about helping yourself. It's about reclaiming the narrative of your life. Toxic family dynamics often leave you feeling powerless, as though your life is dictated by the actions and choices of others. But when you use your pain to fuel your purpose, you take back control. You declare that while you couldn't choose what happened to you, you can choose what you do with it. That choice is your power. The process of transforming pain into purpose requires introspection and courage. It means looking at your experiences honestly without sugarcoating or denial. It means asking yourself, what have I learned from this? How has this shaped me? What strengths have I gained that I can use to create something meaningful? These questions may not have easy answers, but they are worth exploring. Within them lies the key to turning your pain into a force for good. For some, purpose may be found in advocacy, speaking out against the very issues that cause their pain. For others, it may be found in creating art, writing, or music that expresses what words cannot. Purpose might be as simple as breaking the cycle of toxicity within your own family, ensuring that future generations are raised in love and respect. Whatever your purpose looks like, it is uniquely yours, born from your experiences and your resilience. It's important to remember that transforming pain into purpose doesn't mean the pain disappears. Healing is not a straight line, and there will be moments when the hurt resurfaces. But purpose gives you something greater to focus on. It reminds you that your pain is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of a new chapter. It provides direction, helping you move forward even when the past tries to pull you back. As you begin this journey, surround yourself with those who encourage your growth and believe in your potential. Their support will be invaluable as you navigate the challenges of transformation. And remember, this process is not about perfection, it's about progress. Every step you take toward using your pain for good is a victory, no matter how small it may seem. When you transform pain into purpose, you honor the strength it took to survive. You turn what was meant to harm you into something that heals, not just for yourself, but for others as well. In doing so, you reclaim your life, proving that even in the aftermath of family trauma, there is hope, there is growth, and there is a future worth fighting for. Trust in the promise of renewal. In the journey of healing from toxic family trauma, there comes a moment when the weight of the past feels almost unbearable. The memories linger like shadows at dusk, stretching longer as the light fades. You may find yourself questioning whether true healing is possible, whether the scars left behind will ever fade. But amid these doubts, there is a beacon of hope that shines through the darkest nights, the promise of renewal. Renewal is not just a concept, it's a transformative process that breathes new life into weary souls. It's the quiet assurance that no matter how broken you feel, restoration is possible. Trusting in this promise means believing that your current circumstances do not dictate your future, that the pain you've experienced is not the final chapter of your story. Consider the changing of the seasons. Winter, with its barren trees and cold winds, seems endless when you're in the midst of it. But inevitably, spring arrives, buds appear on branches that once looked lifeless, and the world awakens with color and warmth. This cycle of nature reflects the possibilities within your own life. Just as the earth renews itself after periods of dormancy, so too can you experience a personal revival. Trusting in the promise of renewal requires faith in yourself, in the process of healing, and perhaps in something greater than yourself. It means acknowledging that while you cannot change the past, you have the power to shape your future. This trust is not blind optimism, it's a conscious choice to believe that better days are ahead. When you've been hurt by those closest to you, it's easy to build walls around your heart, to protect yourself from further pain. But these walls can also keep out the very things that facilitate renewal, love, joy, and connection. Trusting in renewal invites you to slowly dismantle these barriers, brick by brick, allowing light to enter once more. The process begins with self-compassion. Give yourself permission to feel, to grieve, and to heal at your own pace. Recognize that healing is not linear. There will be setbacks and days when the pain resurfaces. But each step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to renewal. Embracing the promise of renewal also means letting go of limiting beliefs. Toxic family dynamics often instill negative narratives about your worth and potential. Challenge these narratives. Replace them with truths that affirm your value and capabilities. Remind yourself that you are not defined by the actions or words of others, but by your own choices and beliefs. It's important to seek out experiences that nurture your spirit. Engage in activities that bring you joy and peace, whether it's spending time in nature, practicing a hobby, or exploring your creativity. Surround yourself with people who uplift you and reflect the positivity you seek. These experiences act as nourishment for your soul, fostering growth and renewal from within. Remember that renewal is a gradual process. Just as a seed doesn't become a towering tree overnight, your transformation will take time. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate the small victories, the moments when you feel a bit lighter, the days when hope feels within reach. These are signs that renewal is taking root in your life. Trusting in the promise of renewal also involves embracing forgiveness, not just of others, but of yourself. You may hold on to guilt or regret over past actions or decisions. Understand that you did the best you could with the knowledge and resources you had at the time. Offer yourself the same grace you would extend to a dear friend. Faith can be a powerful ally in this journey, whether it's faith in a higher power, in the inherent goodness of life, or simply in the resilience of the human spirit. Let it be a source of strength. Reflect on stories or teachings that inspire hope and renewal. Allow these narratives to reinforce your belief that renewal is not only possible but promised. As you continue on this path, you'll begin to notice changes subtle at first, then more pronounced. The heaviness of the past starts to lift. New opportunities and relationships emerge. You find yourself responding differently to situations that once triggered pain. These are the fruits of trusting in renewal. In time, you may even find that your experiences equip you to help others on their own journeys. Your story of overcoming can serve as a beacon for those still navigating the shadows. In this way, renewal extends beyond your own life, creating a ripple effect of healing and hope. Trust in the promise of renewal is an act of courage. It requires vulnerability and the willingness to believe in possibilities unseen. But as you embrace this trust, you open the door to a life transformed, not free from all pain, but rich with meaning, connection, and joy. Your past has shaped you, but it does not have to confine you. By trusting in the promise of renewal, you allow yourself to bloom anew, stepping into a future defined not by the wounds of yesterday, but by the limitless potential of tomorrow. Trust in your power to heal. As we reach the end of this journey together, I want you to pause and reflect. Every moment of pain, every tear shed in silence, every sleepless night spent wrestling with the echoes of your past, none of it has been in vain. Your story is not over. The pages of your life are still being written, and you hold the pen. You've faced the storm, endured the chaos, and carried burdens that weren't yours to bear. But today you stand on the threshold of something greater. You've acknowledged your pain, set boundaries to protect your peace, found strength in faith, and sought support from those who lift you higher. You've released the weight of unforgiveness, turned your pain into purpose, and embraced the promise of renewal. Each of these steps is a declaration you are no longer defined by the shadows of your past. You are stepping into the light of your future. Healing from family trauma is not an easy road, but it is a road worth traveling. Along the way, you will rediscover parts of yourself that were hidden beneath the pain. You will uncover a strength that surprises you, a resilience that empowers you, and a capacity for love that was never truly lost. You are not a product of their mistakes. You are a reflection of your courage to rise above them. As you move forward, let this be your reminder: you were never meant to stay in the darkness. Your pain was a season, not a sentence. It has refined you, but it does not define you. You have the power to break the cycle, to rewrite the narrative, and to create a life filled with peace, joy, and fulfillment. So today, I leave you with this challenge: walk boldly into the life you deserve. Let go of the guilt, the anger, the fear, and step forward with the confidence that you are worthy of healing, happiness, and love. Trust the process, trust yourself, and trust that a brighter future is waiting for you. Thank you for joining me on this journey of reflection, healing, and hope. Remember, the path to freedom begins with a single step, and you've already taken it. Carry these truths with you and let them guide you in the days to come. Share your light with others who are still searching for their way, and never forget you are stronger than you know, braver than you feel, and more capable than you believe. May your path be filled with peace, growth, and renewal, and may you always remember that your pain is not permanent. It is simply the starting point of your transformation. Thank you, and may you find the strength to rise.